What's going on? My name is Alex Rucci, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my Citizens Bank immersion experience from the summer of 2020 going into 2021. I remember it just like yesterday. I remember sitting there in my apartment room at 22 Dutton View Drive with my girlfriend right there in the room with me. And we were just kind of small talking, and she comes up to me, she goes, "Alex, we haven't really talked about this much, but what are your plans for, this summer? Like, have you picked up any internships? Do you think you have a full-time position opened up?" And me, I was just so tunnel vision focused on like finishing off my senior year, spending time with my friends and taking those last couple moments to really focus on my lacrosse season that I had put no thought into actually what I wanted to do for my future in the moment. And, it was January, almost February at the end of the year. And I was just like, shoot, like it was a wake-up call for me. And then what really was that wake-up call for me was when I was talking to my girlfriend. She said, "Well, look, Alex, like, do you have anything planned?" And in the back of my mind, I had a backup internship that was kind of there for me just in case to a family friend. And I told her about it, and she looked at me and she goes, "No, like, you're not settling for that." And she said, and especially because one of my friends who's a freshman as well, the internship was great, but he was doing the exact same position that was my backup plan. She goes, "If you're going to settle and you're going to take a job that a freshman is going to do, like, we're going to have a tough conversation come time the end of the year if you don't have something secured." So, by that time, it was a real big wake-up call for me, and I didn't want to have that conversation with Jess at the end of the year too. So definitely something that, it was a little intense, but it was a much-needed conversation. So a wise individual in sports once told me that if you want to succeed in sports, you can't be content. The people that make it in sports are the ones that are content and okay with being content, but the ones that succeed in sports are the ones that are going to do whatever it takes to be the best, and they're not going to be content and settle. So I remember, after having that conversation with my girlfriend, I remember going back on LinkedIn and literally applying for every possible position that I could see. And I know Dr. Lanzillo, Caleb Mezzi, they would always post all these different internship experiences and jobs and things that I wasn't even qualified for, things that I had no experience in, I was applying for just because of the conversation I had with my girlfriend. And I remember walking into class one day, and I believe it was for NUSM 460, and I'm talking to Dr. Lanzillo, all excited, like, "Hey, I applied for this position. I applied for this position." Me being all giddy and excited about it. I remember just seeing her say, "That's great, Alex, but have you reached out to the direct hiring manager for these positions?" And I was like, "Oh, shoot, like, no, I have not." And, that was something where it was a strong conversation I had with her because, being able to talk to her and ask her those questions, she helped put me in a position. And I told her the positions I applied for. One was a recreational position, and one was the corporate partnerships / sponsorships internship with Citizens Bank that I had applied for with Citizens. And she said, "Brian Angione, look him up, reach out to him. When you tell me that you apply, I will reach out to him as well, letting him know that one of our own applied for it." And she said, "It's going to be a tough opportunity because I already know some of the people that applied for it. But if you're serious about this, we can make it happen." And, who would have thought at that moment in that conversation that, if I would have gotten this internship, but just this was the start of something that was going to set my professional career up for me as well. I remember doing some serious stalking on LinkedIn. I looked up Brian Angione and saw that he had worked with the Philadelphia Phillies in the past, and kind of did some what we like to call, we don't call it stalking, but it's digging deep and connecting the dots essentially. So I was really tight with someone who's a family friend named Joanne Morano, who works as the director of HR with the Philadelphia Phillies. And, I reached out to her saying, "Hey, I'm applying for a job with Brian Angione, who used to work with the Philadelphia Phillies. Do you know anything about him? Is there anything, like, can you reach out to him for me?" And she said, "Send me your resume and your cover letter, and I'll make sure it's on his desk first thing on Monday." And sure enough, she reached out to him. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from Brian and says, "Hey, this is Brian. Is this Alex?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm happy to chat with you. Like, take all the time you need to speak and all that." And he goes, "Anyone that has a recommendation from both Julie Lanzillo and Joanne Morano is going to be definitely on my radar. So come in this Thursday and I'll have an interview prepared for you." And I was like, oh shoot, like, this is really, I'm almost there, And my philosophy too is like, if you can get the interview, that is 75% of it, because the rest is just on you. And you know, if you have what it takes, you can do it and you can get that job. I remember being so emotional and so excited when I secured this internship, but I wasn't ready to just be satisfied with securing the internship. I wanted to be active in it and find out what I could do to, succeed in this role. My basic roles and responsibilities for this internship was I was supposed to serve as an on-site liaison within the Philadelphia Phillies and Citizens Bank in the ballpark to really activate the sponsorship between both the bank and the Phillies, and kind of just turn that favorable brand awareness and just like kind of create a positive impact for the business of Citizens Bank by just being able to promote citizens throughout the stadium and activate the entire sponsorship within the ballpark. There were so many different things that were super fun that I was able to get involved in while interning with Citizens Bank. One of my favorite was doing the Phil Abundance first ever virtual Fans Feeding Families event, which was a partnership between the Phillies, Citizens Bank, and Phil Abundance. And what was so cool about this was usually we invite Aaron Nola to come out, and it's just a huge food drive where people donate tons and tons of food just to donate and give back to the greater community of the greater Philadelphia area. And this year it was a little bit different because with COVID, we had to switch it and make it virtual. So, myself and Vanessa, the other intern that I was working with, we really worked super hard to help out with this to make it a virtual food drive, which was something that was super fun because we helped and we more so got involved in working on the virtual photo booth. And what we did there was, it was you were able to submit pictures of yourself, and you're able to participate in the event by participating in the virtual photo booth. And we were going to save your photos and kind of put your face as if you were donating food right outside of Citizens Bank for the Phil Abundance food drive. B, put you right behind home plate in the batter's box like you were at the stadium. And C, give you the opportunity to be right in front of some of the statues outside of Citizens Bank so you could save those pictures. And, as COVID was impacting us and preventing us from fully being there, it allowed us to feel like we were a part of it and a little type of normalcy to be able to participate in a virtual event like that too. And what was such a huge success was we were able to generate over, I would say, 230,000 viewers and users within the first 3 days of the virtual photo booth, which was super cool. And just for some other numbers I have in front of me too, is we were also able to provide over 80,000 meals through the Phil Abundance food drive. And we were also able at the end to present a check for $40,000 to Phil Abundance on behalf of Citizens Bank. So I remember when I first applied for the job with Citizens Bank, I was telling Brian about some experience that I had just, editing videos and being involved and just doing some of like those highlight tapes I did with Rucci recruiting. And he loved it. He was super excited about it. And he was like, you never know, there might be a time and a place where we might actually have to use something like that. And sure enough, when the pandemic hit, Brian, what was cool about Brian was he gave us the opportunity to really step out of our comfort zones. Myself and Vanessa, who was the other intern partner that I had, who was awesome. She had a marketing background. I had a video background and a sport management background. And I remember once COVID hit, we weren't allowed to go to the stadium. We weren't allowed to be around anyone. We were all working from home and remotely. And one of the things that, we would have been able to do at the ballpark was myself and Vanessa would have been in charge of the ballpark banker program. And what that is, it's a bunch of Citizens Bank bankers that would work at the kiosk at the Citizens Bank kiosk in the ballpark in that section. And, if anyone was interested in signing up, becoming a member with Citizens Bank, we would direct them to them. And that's kind of how they would do their role. But I mean, these are some of the most passionate, not only Phillies fans, but passionate people about what they do, which were these bankers. And they were just kind of like, they worked there all the time, every year. Some have been doing it for, 5+ years, and all of a sudden it gets stripped from you like that. I mean, me and Vanessa were just interns at the time that, yes, we were running that program, but we didn't know what it was really feeling like for them to not be there. So we wanted to make them feel like they were part of something. And what we did was we created the ballpark banker warm-up video, which was, we paid attention to some of the trends that were going on with TikTok and how there was it was like a compilation of someone like catching a ball, tossing it to the right, then another person catching it, doing a trick, and then passing it to someone else. So what we did was we created a video, and I was able to help edit it as well, which was the ballpark banker warm-up, and we invited all of our ballpark bankers to have a baseball and a glove, do a trick like they were catching it, pass it over to someone else or hit the ball and someone else catching it. And it was something that was super cool to really engage our ballpark bankers. And, that event right there with that video generated, it ended up getting retweeted by the Philadelphia Phillies and generating over 66,000 views. And, it was actually presented to the CEO, Bruce Van Susan of Citizens Bank, and he absolutely loved it. And, at that moment, me and Vanessa really were aware, like, we're here for a reason. And, during a time like this, they're keeping us, hired during this pandemic when I know my friends, families, and parents lost their jobs. Like, this was a time and an opportunity to really make a name for ourselves, and we made sure we capitalized on everything. And Brian also assigned me and Vanessa the task of coming up with a rewards program for Citizens Bank at the ballpark. And, whether it was a cash back system, if you were a Citizens Bank card holder and you spent money at the stadium, you got 1% cash back. Having exclusive VIP Citizens Bank, whether it was a season ticket member line or just if you were a card holder, there was a separate entrance for you within the ballpark. Just little things like that. And if you signed up for Citizens Bank at the ballpark, you got a free Phillies/Citizens Bank blanket that you'd be able to take home with you and keep with you at the games and stuff. There were so many creative things that me and Vanessa were able to work on, and Brian was really impressed with that. So he invited us to these 4 p.m. conference calls where we were able to share ideas that would go directly from him in leadership to the CEO of Citizens Bank. And it was something that was super cool, and I was very fortunate of because it was just a lot of fun, and I was able to be myself, and that was something that was really special about this internship. So one of the most special parts I think about this internship was the opportunity to, I don't even like to use the word network, but just connect internally within the department and in the organization, I would say. And I had the luxury of, meeting so many incredible individuals of both the Philadelphia Phillies and Citizens Bank in this process. But there were a couple people I really connected with, and one of them was Heather Home, and she is the director of experiential marketing for Citizens Bank. And her title was just like a little bit of just a jack of all trades. She did everything. And, whether it was helping out with corporate partnerships and the sponsorships aspect or just, developing marketing strategies too, she really challenged myself and Vanessa a lot. There were times during our conference calls where she would just pick on me and call me out and just to see and test if I was even listening and paying attention. I always was, I promise. But it was just super cool because she was willing to listen. I mean, in no way, shape, or form were these people on the calls old, but they were always eager to see what myself and Vanessa, who were college students, had to say about some of the ideas. And, through this, I guess it's a little bit of a top secret information I'm sharing with you guys, but Citizens Bank is actually changing their name to Citizens. And it was something that was super cool because I was interning there at the time when they announced that. And it hasn't really been released to the public too big just yet, but the big question was, how is Citizens Bank Park and Citizens Bank going to adjust to this entire shift of just image and branding? And what they came up with essentially was that the ballpark will stay the same as Citizens Bank Park just because of the awareness and everything that's been built from Citizens Bank Park, like CBP, Citizens Bank Park Way, like it's just streets, like all that kind of stuff has already been solidified. But what they're doing is they're subtly kind of just throwing in Citizens in there. So basically, like behind where the rotational signage is of the ballpark that you see on TV all the time, it always used to say Citizens Bank. So next season, I believe it's going to just start saying Citizens. So slowly signage around the stadium is going to, slowly just become Citizens. But at the top where the Liberty Bells, it's still going to say Citizens Bank Park. But just being a part of that was something that was so special and something that I really enjoyed so much. So one of the best parts about this too was I was able to implement and incorporate rises throughout this internship, which I thought was something that was super fun. And, I definitely do not take for granted. And one of my favorite things here is that I was able to get from this internship, I kept it right behind me for this video, was a genuine Shane Victorino signed baseball bat. And this was something that, I keep as a souvenir piece from the internship to remind me of just, the positivity that came from a tough time. Definitely working during COVID, it definitely impacted my mental state, and the opportunity to not work and actually ever be at the ballpark. But me and Vanessa, Brian, and the entire Citizens Bank and Phillies team, we made lemonade out of lemons. I don't even know if I'm saying that saying right, but it was just something that was super fun where, the cards that were dealt, we handled them and we rose to the occasion. And it was definitely something that was super fun where like they gave us chances and we responded to them. And that was something that was such a good blessing. But just to incorporate the Rise's values, one that really stood out to me was stewardship. And just looking at my notes here, reading just like the definition of that Newman defined stewardship is, being able to receive gratefully, use carefully, and also share generously. This brings me to a time where I think about during this internship, I remember the last day we were cleaning out the entire, this is when we were allowed to return to the office in October, right before the internship ended. We were able to go out there and clean the entire office of the Citizens Bank building with all their Philly stuff. There was players from like 2010, signed memorabilia and all these random different things, but it had never been cleaned out before. It was just kind of everything was just thrown in there. I mean, there were signed Bryce Harper hats in there and no one even knew. So I didn't get my hands on any of those. But what was so cool and unique about this internship experience, though, is that, I was able to display Rises by, we got to go out there and help out. And Brian, I remember at the end of the day, he goes, look, you guys have worked so hard. Take whatever you guys want as long as they're not actively on the roster. And I saw this Shane Victorino bat, and I got a couple other bats and some awesome memorabilia pieces as well that, I'm going to collect and keep them on my walls when I get older. But what was super cool about that was I remember I had made a post in our Facebook when I actually got hired by HBSE, and this lady reached out to me who, was I think she was the booster club. She ran the booster club for my high school that I went to for the 2019 2020 senior class. And she'd reached out saying, hey, Alex, I know you accepted this role with HBSE working with the Sixers and the Devils. I was wondering if you had anything you'd be able to donate to our booster club, like our event that we were running and stuff. And at the time I just started, so I didn't have any access to anything Sixers or Devils related. But I told her, I said, look, I had so much Phillies memorabilia that I had from this internship, and she loved it. And I was able to donate, a good chunk of some of the stuff that I had because, just at the end of the day, one that was gifted to me for free. And I got Brian's approval before I just gave it away. But it was something that, I knew that I didn't want to sell it, but I would love to see someone make greater use of it than just myself. Some of the players, I had like 4 Ryan Howard signed posters that they gave me. I only need one for myself. So, Ryan Howard is a Philly legend, and I figured to myself, why not give an opportunity to give back a little bit? And, not realizing that I was participating in Newman's rises of stewardship, but to me, I just felt like it was something that I needed to do. And that's something that I learned from Newman that I'm super glad and pumped up that I was able to participate in. Just to kind of summarize and recap some of the stuff too with this internship, I mean, Citizens Bank really does care. And it was something that I was super blessed and super appreciative to be a part of. And I remember, one day at my mailbox, this guy drops off. It was from Chess Cafe. And it was, I believe it's a big restaurant or a catering ballroom in Philly. And this guy dropped off. It was called A Dinner for Two, A Night in the Stars. And my man dropped off chicken, shrimp, prosciutto, different types of cheeses, and all sorts of different foods and everything. And I was like, whoa, what is this for? And he goes, on behalf of Citizens Bank, we would like to gift this to you guys during this tough pandemic. And I was like, my goodness, like that was an $85 meal that I just got gifted to me for free. I mean, there were so many incredible events. I was able to attend the AJR summer concert as well, which was a drive-up, pop-up concert at the ballpark. And I was able to bring my brother, my girlfriend, and my girlfriend's brother at the time. And it was just something that was such a fun experience. I mean, there are so many lifelong, incredible lessons that I've been able to learn in this opportunity. And, after seeing the way Brian led us, it really encouraged me to maybe want to get involved in leadership as well. And, this whole thing and this whole opportunity was a blessing. And I'm super appreciative to take the time to honestly reflect about it because it happened so fast where I didn't really take the time to appreciate it in that moment. Just some of the things I learned at Newman and before I had the internship, but being able to actually be a part of that professional organization, it really helped me kind of how I want to help my self-image and my personal brand where I work today and where I'm going to work in the future as well. So, just having this opportunity to reflect on this, I want to say thank you. And absolutely every single opportunity that Newman has given me and presented itself to me, I've made sure I've taken the fullest of because I'd be a fool if I didn't. And, the support system and the supporting cast that Newman has to give me, I'm absolutely blessed for and just really want to say thank you to Dr. J, thank you to Caleb and Dean Wellington, all the awesome helping hands that I've been able to have being a part of the Newman University Family and Sport Business Department. It's been an absolute blessing. And, the journey doesn't come to an end upon graduation. The journey is going to continue because I'm looking forward to giving back to Newman even more and just participating in more events to not only help myself, but help those that were in my shoes and are in my shoes at the time as well. So thank you guys. And, I love you guys for real. So thank you. And I really appreciate you all.